Hello everyone. Welcome to another exciting Eventide patron-only stream. I'm out of practice. I didn't do it for 1 week and now I'm completely lost. How is everyone doing here this fine Tuesday afternoon? I am Jason Bowman. I'm the creator of Eventide. I had a little something to do with Pathfinder 2nd Edition. And today I think I'm just going to kind of do a general update of where we're at. Last week we ended up canceling the stream because my office was a furnace. It was really quite warm. As some of you may have noticed, Seattle isn't the kind of place where most units have air conditioning. And as a result, when it hits 90 and your office is west-facing, there isn't much that can be done in that room. In the late afternoon, the temperature skyrockets to over 100, and it's pretty gross. So when that happens, I tend to not stream, which is why I didn't stream on Tuesday and Saturday. I did a Twitch stream early in the day, just to avoid the heat. This has had knock-on effects as well. It's hard enough getting game group to get together in the summer, but when your game's on a Thursday and once again you play from your office, you end up ending up having to cancel your game as well. So it's been a rough week of getting Eventide things to move along, primarily just because it's been so hot. And then to top it off, two of my players left this morning to make their way to Indianapolis for Gen Con. And although we could have tried to squeeze in a game last night, it was still pretty warm here, and frankly I could tell that they were both still stressed about packing and getting ready, so I called off that game as well. So the past week it's just been a wash. It just hasn't gotten together. Now obviously, I'm not immune to challenges when it comes to getting your game groups together. I have the same problems as everyone else, that people's schedules get in the way, their timetables get in the way, and you end up having to cancel games. That is certainly kind of what has happened here. So, over the past week, it's been, frankly, pretty quiet on that front. And yeah, the heat here in Seattle has certainly become a far more common thing. It's troubling. I've lived in Seattle now for almost 20 years. And until, the past 4 or 5 years, our summers were very mild. We might have a few days in the 80s, and that was usually it. This last week, we had a sustained 6-day streak of 90-plus weather. That's not normal. So, yeah. So, while I've been kind of stalled and stymied on playtesting and working with Volume 2 of Wolfren's Fate, Volume 1 of Wolfren's Fate is coming along quite well. In the past couple weeks, I have signed a contract with an editor. That editor is churning away on Wolfren's Fate, which ended up being... part 1 is 23,000 words, so it is a gigantic adventure in terms of word count, right? There's just a lot of material in there. Because, I like my adventures to be kind of meaty, to have a lot of lore in them and a lot of interesting puzzles. And that stuff really takes up a lot of space. So, my editor, which, by the way, I will announce here, my editor is Leo Glass. He is... our managing editor at Paizo, and I picked him up as a freelancer to do some editing on Eventide. So if you like the editorial quality of Pathfinder materials, I have our managing editor as my editor, and he is super excited to be a part of this project. Leo is a great guy, and he's doing some great work, and I've already seen the first round of his questions, and they're looking great. As a matter of fact, I'm expecting the next giant batch to arrive maybe late tonight or early tomorrow. So I'm going to be in a spot where, frankly, this whole adventure is coming together very quickly. While that's happening, I'm also working on layout. And for those of you who ever monkeyed around with InDesign, you know that is a process, right? InDesign is kind of the industry standard when it comes to laying out our games and our products. And as a result, I had to teach it to myself, which, took some time. It isn't that hard of a piece of software to learn, but I've had to watch a lot of tutorials and figure out how some things work, like getting, just figuring out how to make sure everything's snapping to grid. That way my lines in 2-column layout line up. It's a little thing, but you'd be surprised that it's not actually as obvious as you might think it is, because you have to make sure that you're leading and all of these print terms everything is set up just right. So, for those of you who have the PDFs of the first 2 halves of that first part, those were kind of my early prototype tinkerings in InDesign. And frankly, now I'm kind of leveling up my game and doing some nice finish and polish to these things. So, yeah, I don't have any schooling with InDesign or not really with anything. I've self-taught myself the entire Adobe suite, so that's fun. Like all of the animations and stuff you see, all of those are done in After Effects and then polished off in Premiere. Those are all Adobe suite. I taught myself how to use those as well. So it's been busy. And, honestly, there's a bit of learning curve there that comes with it. And frankly, for this latest project, I'm also setting it up in such a way that in the future, I don't have to do this work again. I have my set templates. I can pull them over and start working. So, and honestly, for those of you who are interested, YouTube is the way to go. Adobe actually offers a number of tutorial videos just on how to learn their stuff. Those are good for learning some of the basics. But then when it's like, how do I do this thing? I guarantee you there's a video for it out there. There's probably 3. There's plenty to learn out there. There's plenty of ways that you can learn it. So, hold on. So yeah, for these I'm setting up, page templates and getting all the a paragraph and character styles set. So that when I get the text back from Leo, it's just a matter of importing it, dropping in the images, copy fitting, and calling it done. Which means, and I'm crossing my fingers here because a lot of things got to go right for this to happen. All goes according to plan. I may drop part 1 on drive-thru on Saturday. It's going to be tight. My artist is scheduled to get me the finals by Friday. I can do rough layouts without those finals. The key is getting the text in. So if Leo can get those done, then I'll be in perfect shape. And he's working on a really tight timetable, so if he misses it, that's why I haven't announced it on social media yet. I'm telling all of you because you get to see the behind the scenes of my hopes and ambitions. So for those of you who are supporters of this project, if you're at the Lord or Master level, you'll end up getting this PDF for free. If you're at the Scholar tier, you'll get it for basically $5. I think what I'm going to do here is this first weekend, I'm going to be offering it for $5 off its final price, but only during the hours of Gen Con. And only for those who are not at Gen Con. So I'm going to kind of do a special for those who didn't manage to make it to the show. Here's a special thing you can go pick up. So, here's hoping. It's all coming together real quick here, and I'm running right down to the wire. A lot of these things happened with just enough time. So, if something goes wrong, it's not going to surprise me, and it'll slip into next week. That's not going to be the end of the world if it does, but there's part of me that really wants to put it up with a kind of, you're not at Gen Con, here's a $5 off coupon, basically, that says, instead of, I'm going to be pricing this thing at $14.99 for a 32-page PDF, but for this opening weekend, I'm going to have it $5 off, so it'll be $9.99. That means for those of you who are scholars, it'll just be $5 here this first weekend, and then it'll go up to $7.49 because you get it for half price. That's what I'm hoping for. But, right now I'm in the middle of doing page treatment and page design And you don't have to prove that you're not at Gen Con. I just assume that if you're at Gen Con, you're not checking my social media. So, we'll just assume that that's the case. I don't actually care if people take advantage of the coupon. It's just a marketing gimmick. That's the other side of being in the game design business, is that you're constantly looking for angles to get people to pay attention to your work. It's hard to do. And frankly, in the past 4 or 5 months, the Pathfinder 2E third-party publisher market has actually kind of grown quite a bit. There's a lot of folks now putting out Pathfinder 2E material. So I actually have to kind of go out there and compete against all of them. And frankly, some of them have bigger budgets than I do. So, we'll see how it goes. I got good name recognition, and that should help. But, word of mouth is going to be key. That's where all of you come in. When these things do go live, I'll certainly be asking all of you to help me spread the word and see if we can't drum up some support and have this first adventure be a success. Now, one other thing I'm doing that I'm not going to talk about, but you all get to know because you've been with me since the start, is the enter code no COVID. That'll be the thing. Or I guess no monkeypox. Jesus, what a world. Anyway, so I'm not gonna promote this until it's ready, until it's good to go. But I am gonna go ahead and pull the trigger on it once the PDF is done. I'm laying this out so that it can be done POD, which means the first part of Wolfren's Fate, technically you will be able to print POD. I'm not going to make a big deal out of it. I'm not even going to push it that much. It's just going to be an option for those who are interested in it. And I may even do something special for some of my patrons here about offering up a couple that I print out and sign, and they'll be the first numbered actual print items from Eventide. So we'll see how that goes. That's going to take a while, though. That's not something I can do instantaneously, because if you want to offer it as a POD product, you have to print it and do a print sample. So that is going to take a little bit, and that means that obviously will not be ready for Gen Con. In fact, it'll probably take me about a month to do the sample print and get it back. And that's assuming that there are no issues or problems with the print file itself. So that's having to be really careful, making sure that I'm, doing all the ink levels to the right point and making sure everything's CMYK and not RGB, and there's a whole bunch of print requirements that are things that frankly to me are just gobbledygook, but I understand basically what they're there for, and hopefully I can navigate them. I was able to do it with Elephant in the Room, and get that right on the first try, so here's hoping that that goes well for this as well. So we'll see how that goes. It's a process. And, in the meanwhile, writing is continuing apace for part 2. I'd love to give you more playtest reports, but frankly, both groups went through the intro, which saw them kind of chatting with havoc and talking to Hadrim doing research, them doing downtime, and then coming back and getting Hadrim's list of possible locations to explore. And both groups are at that point, and that's where I ended. So they haven't actually gotten into the meat of the adventure. And as I've been writing it, the adventure itself has been kind of growing and developing. And this happens whenever I write, is that as I'm going along, I'll come up with an idea, of how to branch out the story, how to enrich it, how to kind of play with it a bit more. And sometimes I'll have to stop and remap things to be like, okay, is this still narratively flowing the way I want? Or am I having the right beats? Is the story coming together in the right way? So it takes work. But Part 2 is becoming a fascinating little adventure. It's got basically 3 tracks now of encounters and things that can happen. And one is entirely location-based. It's based on where the players go in town and what avenues of exploration they take. So they start with a list of 5 places. That opens up, when they go to some of these places, it opens up other locations. They may have to revisit places. But suffice to say, there's grand total of about a dozen locations around town that they may go and visit and talk to people about to further their investigation to find the signet ring. At the same time, there are free-floating events that happen that occur when the GM needs them to happen. Now, some of them have to happen before certain points in the adventure, but when they happen is kind of up to the GM about the kind of ebb and flow of the story. And there's really kind of two classifications on those kind of free-floating adventures or encounters. One has to do with the Dawnbringer organization. So the Dawnbringers are this kind of secretive group of scholars and some say crackpots who are investigating the Seven Truths. And they're very interested in Wolfren because Wolfren helped found the chapter of the Dawnbringers here in Wormbone. So, as the players have gone deeper and deeper in there, they've attracted the attention of these Dawnbringers, who then seek them out to talk to them. So there is an entire side encounter where these clandestine figures come and want to talk to them and invite them to this old print shop. It's a print shop. And there they are talked to by the members of this order. At the same time, there are these villains, these gaunts, who are hunting them. And they start by getting some lackeys to try and attack the PCs. And this can happen at any time, kind of when it is appropriate. I'm sorry if you're getting any noise. My neighbors have suddenly decided to use power tools after 7 because they're very considerate. My apologies. So those are kind of the free-floating ones. And then there's some time-based encounters as well. So, and those primarily have to do with the Eventide celebration, which happens during this part of the adventure. So there's this kind of festival and holiday that kind of builds to the finale of this part of the adventure. The thing with the gaunts also happens during that. So some of the gaunt things are free-floating and some of those are timed. Then you've got the Dawnbringers who come in and they also play into the more timed events later. And then, of course, you have all of the random locations that they can go to. And those locations that they visit, those will be the thing that ultimately solve the mystery, but these other things are happening at the same time. So it's a multifaceted story now that's come together. And I'm pretty excited to get my players into playing it as soon as I can get them on schedule. Since we wrapped up part 1, we've now had to cancel 2 entire complete sets of playtest scenarios. So or playtest sessions. So we've really only gotten to play once in the past 6 weeks with each group. And that's just really slow. So, as it turns out, I, like all other GMs, am not immune to kind of summer, vacation, convention, and other outages screwing with my game schedule. On the upside, that stuff's nearly over, and we're getting to the fall, which means my game schedule and whatnot should even out, which means, I can make more of this adventure happen. And right now, I'm just taking the time to kind of luxuriously write it without, super time pressure on me. But obviously, I want to get this stuff done, and I want to get back to, Player's Guide and GM's Guide stuff, which, frankly, I haven't had the time for in the past month. Between my work responsibilities suddenly becoming very challenging, and just because we've had some outages, and summer heat, it's been kind of hard to get work done. But that said, things are coming around and are cleaning up nicely. Now, there were some other things I wanted to show you here today because, frankly, I haven't posted up a lot, but I did want to show you some stuff from the upcoming adventure and some of the art that I've gotten. Some fun stuff in there. So I think I'll show you some of that here in just a sec. And then, frankly, we'll open it up for some questions. I'm still working out what my schedule is going to be this week. I have some seminars in the Paizo Gen Con online presence. There's one on Thursday and one on Saturday. I'm going to have to see how those interfere with my streaming schedule for Saturday. I may have to move things around to make things work, but we'll see how that goes. And honestly, what I talk about on Saturday is going to depend an awful lot on whether or not I have an adventure for sale. So I'm kind of holding my cards close to my chest until I know one way or the other. And I should know within the next 24 to 36 hours tops. So, all right, let's take a look at some of the art, though, because I'm really excited for some of this stuff. Now, this is all coming from Frost Lamson, a fantastic artist out of the Philippines that I've been working with. And she has just been doing some knockout work. So, for those of you who are familiar with the first part of Wolfren's Fate, I had some headshots done. So, first and foremost, I got the Major Domo. Here he is. Very severe-looking customer. The Major Domo ended up a bit more stern than I think I originally imagined him, but I think it works. I'm pretty happy with this. This is the ghostly Major Domo. You can notice that he's got a Wolfren's Tower insignia monogrammed on his collar, and the Major Domo is the ghost that kind of haunts you on the first floor of the dungeon. And is kind of the main adversary of the first half of the adventure. But once you manage to calm him, he ends up on your side, and you can work with him, and he's the one who shows you down to the second level of the dungeon. Now, of course, there is also the captain of the guard, who ends up, or sorry, not the captain, Lieutenant. Lieutenant Havoc is the primary member of the Blue Banners that you end up interacting with in this first part of the adventure. So I wanted to get a headshot of her as well. So here is Lieutenant Havoc. I am really happy with this piece, how this turned out. Lieutenant Havoc is a member of the Blue Banners. So that's you can see some of that with the blue trim on her leather collar there. I'm really happy with how this turned out. I think she's pretty badass, which is exactly what I wanted out of my Captain of the Guard. And she ends up being a really interesting ally. In fact, she ends up having a bigger and bigger role in part 2 of the adventure, because as it turns out, she is secretly a contact for the Dawnbringers. So she works with the Dawnbringers and is a member of the Dawnbringers and is feeding them information. So the reason why the PCs get so much help and so much preferential treatment is because they are having some success in opening up Wolfren's Tower, and Havoc wants them to succeed. So Havoc has been feeding their information to the Dawnbringers and making sure that the players have every chance to kind of succeed in their quest. Power tools, great. Their timing, it's impeccable. All right. So those are the two headshots that I've ordered for this first part of the adventure. There really aren't very many other pivotal characters. I mean, there are the members of the two other mercenary groups, but I think if I ever get art of them, it'll be for the larger mega version of this adventure, which I'm hoping to do as a crowdfunder and part of a larger project with like the Player's Guide and the Game Mastery Guide and this complete adventure to kind of form the first full Eventide kit. That's kind of what I'm building toward. Things go according to plan. Maybe next year will be the target for that. So I've got some other art here as well. There's, of course, I wanted to get a spot illo of the tapestry. There's a very important tapestry that you're not allowed to take that's located in the elevator room on the first floor of the tower. So I wanted to get an art piece of that. So here that is. This is still, this isn't the final. This is still at about, this is about 75%. So this is still a sketch. And that shows Ilsanvenir, it's a tapestry showing Ilsanvenir on the day of Eventide. So, there's something really exciting going on here. I'm really happy with how the direction this is taking. Kind of snowy, forested town of Ilsanvenir, which fell into ruin and became, the town of Wormbone. So pretty excited about that. So there's more too, right? One thing that I realized is that the piece of art that I ordered, and you saw this piece, I posted this up to the Patreon last week, which was the cover to Wolfren's Fate. But that cover piece is actually for the whole adventure, not just part 1. And it actually doesn't even work for part 1 because it shows a scene that isn't even in part 1. So that made me realize that what I should probably do is for each part also order a half-page piece of art that then later I could use as an internal piece, but for the PDF and the early print I can use as the cover. So I've got, and this is still a rough, this is one of the pieces I'm waiting on. I ordered a piece that showed our Gloamling and our Penumbrist fighting against an ooze. This is the combat from the second level of the dungeon, the Dark Laboratory, and this is just a sketch right now, but I think it's coming together nicely. Let's take a peek. So yeah, this is down in the library here. So you've got the Penumbrist behind the ooze, ducking underneath the tentacle, conjuring up some shadow magic, and you've got our poor wayward Gloamling in the background, about to let loose a crossbow bolt at the giant green slime. So this piece is still a rough, and I'm looking forward to seeing the final. But honestly, I think there's a lot of potential here. I like how you can kind of see through the slime and see the tables behind it. You can see some of the alchemical gear back there. You know, I think this piece is going to work out well. But this is pretty rough, right? This is this is probably about a 25% rough. I got a maybe a 10% sketch before this, and so you know, it progresses. It is funny because these pieces are basically done. These are the finals, right? But this is a progress piece at around, you know, 50-75%. This is probably creeping up towards 50%, but it's probably more like 25 or 30. And, you know, then you've got sketches which are even below that, which is something like this Gaunt. Now, these are all from the same artist, right? So this kind of shows her progress. She'll start with these kind of rough, lighter sketches, and then progress adding layers of color, and then tightening up those colors, and then moving in for a final. Gives you... She's been really great. She has given me multiple opportunities to kind of play with the pieces and kind of give direction, and has been super responsive. I am super happy with the work she has done. Yeah, I'm really happy. All of this is coming together great. And then the last thing I've been working on, this has been the big thing that's been taking up my time here for the past several days, is just trying to get the layout pulled together. Because, as I said, building stuff in InDesign is slow work. You know, generally speaking, you got to start in Illustrator or Photoshop and building kind of layered background pieces. And then you have to assemble them and set up pages and use those pages then to flow text and place art and do trim and turnaround. Yeah, no, Frost has been phenomenal. Her turnaround time has been nothing short of remarkable. She got the art order for all of the pieces you saw here. She got those 3 weeks ago. So by the time this project is done, it'll been less than a month, and I will have gone from art order to final pieces, which is impressive. Frankly, for that amount of work, normally you would give more like 4 to 6 weeks, and I'm going to get it in 3. So I can't really complain about that. So back to the layout here. The layout, as I said, I've been playing around with it. And I did a little bit of a sample layout just so that I could see what it was looking like and see if it was coming together the way that I had hoped. So I've got that piece here. Let me go ahead and show it. This is, I did just a sample layout of the Shadow Hunter with the final art, because I have it. Just to see what a page would look like, and here it is. So this is the page treatment that I'm working on for the final version of Wolfren's Fate for the full PDF. Now, of course, I'll be offering this as a printer-friendly version as well, which won't have background coloring, and it'll be a bit straightforward, so it doesn't. It's not a giant ink hog. Now, this hasn't gone through copy fit or anything like that. I would probably adjust the size of the monster and maybe write a bit of text to fill some more background information. But this is kind of getting close to the complete and accurate background. I really like how it's this kind of papery texture that then fades into this kind of spooky night sky. And that and the Shadowhunter art here is just fantastic. I couldn't be happier with how that turned out. Very, very kind of creepy. But yeah, I'm really happy with this. You'd be surprised how long little elements like this take, right? They require a lot of effort to kind of get them to come out right and to get them to pop right. And you have to place things like, kind of the fade box for where the text sits. That way the text reads cleanly. Because I personally I'm not a big fan of text boxes that are so textured that it makes it hard to read. So I'm gonna go ahead and zoom in here a bit. You'll have to excuse me because this is a little messy here. But yeah, you can tell here that some of the texturing here, there's some really good stuff going on here, and like the title bar up there at the top has texturing in the background and stuff like that. I'm just really happy. This whole thing has just kind of turned out exactly how I wanted it to, and I'm looking forward to laying out the entire adventure in that format. I'm still working on getting, you have to design how text boxes are going to look and make sure that they're scalable and things like that. So there's still some work to go, and then once I get the text, then I need to flow it and copy fit it and edit it and get rid of widows and orphans and fill pages and try and make sure everything lines up on pages and starts and ends in the right spot. It's a long, challenging kind of jigsaw puzzle. But that is going to be my primary focus probably for the rest of this week, assuming I get all the pieces I need. And that's kind of the big thing I'm waiting on right now. Because frankly, if either Frost or Leo misses the deadline, it's not going to happen. And it's not their fault. It's my fault for being way too aggressive on my timetables. And I told them as much. I'm like, listen, if you can pull this off, you're amazing. I will owe you, and frankly, probably throw in a bonus in their pay. But, it was my aggressive schedule where I was like, hey, maybe I should try and have this out by Gen Con. Even though I'm not going to be at Gen Con, maybe I could do a special thing. I gotta go fast. Must go fast. So, yeah, that's kind of where we're at. Now, if it slips the next week, that's not the end of the world. I might even be able to get some push from Paizo from it. So, we'll see how it goes. But that's kind of where we're at. And frankly, it's all thanks to all of you. The art, the time necessary to learn these sorts of things, I'm only able to budget them because of the support of everybody here in the Patreon. So, it really does make it all work. If I was having to foot the bill on all of this out of my own pocket, it would too much. It's thousands of dollars, right? For a 32-page adventure, by the time all is said and done, not even counting my time, I will have dropped $4,000 in art and editing costs. And then I do all the writing, I do all the layout, I do all the copy fitting, I do all the advertising, I do all the all of the. So, yeah, but having a good artist and a good editor, this is how I start. And if I build up a big enough of an audience base, then I can hire a developer, then I can hire a graphic designer and not have to do the design anymore. And frankly, I can just do the writing, which is what I'd really like to be doing, because content creation is what I think I'm best at. But right now I have to wear a whole lot of hats to make sure all of this goes off without a hitch. Now, on the upside, I've been in this biz long enough that I know most of the tools and tricks, so, I can end up with a professional-looking piece of work. It's just a lot of my time, which could be better spent writing more adventures and creating more work. So, that's where I'm at. That's the kind of update. Now, this weekend, obviously, is Gen Con. I'm not going to be at Gen Con. I'm going to be at home. And as I've mentioned, I have a panel on Thursday and a panel on Saturday. On the Paizo stream, so that'll be over on the official Paizo Twitch channel. But I'm going to be doing something as well. I haven't quite decided when, and I haven't quite decided how, but I do plan on doing a little something as well. I will probably do a public stream talking about Eventide. I will definitely be doing that if the adventure is available. If the adventure is not ready, I may hold off on trying to do a special stream until the adventure is. That way I've got something to push. Something to be excited about, So there is that, and I may even try and orchestrate a bit of a live play of the intro, which could be fun. I'm still thinking about that. I kind of had a thought a while back of maybe even offering the Lord tier folks a seat at a table to do a live playtest. Now, there's some challenges with that. You know, not everybody's up for doing a live stream, and I would be the only one on camera. But I need to make sure everybody has a good connection and that the stream looks good and stuff like that. So it's a big challenge, a big lift. I'm not sure I can make that happen for Saturday, obviously. But I could maybe do it sometime soon, maybe to announce the launch of the print version or something. I don't know. We'll see. It does sound like a fun opportunity. And I would, of course, offer it to the highest tier patrons first. And if I can't fill out the table, then I'll move down tier until I do. But if I do decide to go that route, I'll give everyone plenty of heads up. Now, for those of you who have grabbed the existing adventure PDFs, understand that those are different than the final versions. First of all, they don't have all of the playtest notes. Second, they haven't been edited. Well, they were edited by me, but that doesn't say a lot because I wrote it. And if any of you have ever done your own writing, you are your own worst editor because you overlook the same things twice. You made that mistake in that sentence first. You are more than capable of overlooking it when trying to fix it. So I find that I am my own worst editor. Doesn't mean I'm bad at it. It just means that I miss things. So, and the final version of this PDF is stitched together. It's both parts put together. There's not an awkward break in the middle. It's treating the entire thing like it's one contiguous adventure. You know, so it has the first level, then there's a bit of a pause when you go back up to the town and talk to folks, then you jump right into the second level and continue the adventure from there. So, it will be different, and it should clock in at exactly 32 pages. At least that's what I'm trying to aim it for. We'll see if I can make that happen. It's going to be a bit of a challenge, but I think we can probably do it. And that will make it pretty easy for me to print this thing, because it is the right size of project. So, yeah. So that's kind of where we're at. If anybody has any questions here today, I'm happy to answer them. This has been kind of more of a general chat than me having a big, giant progress update. You know, we did have some cool art to show off, and I wanted to make sure you folks got a good chance to see it. This is all art that's going to be in the adventure itself, along with a lot of the black and white spot art that, frankly, is stock image art, but it fits the adventure and is pretty good stuff. So the first adventure will be kind of a mix of stock art and this finished color art that is specific to the adventure. You know, so I think there's some good stuff here. Yeah, just happy with how it's coming along. I always wish it could go faster. I worry that I'm going too slow, but frankly, I am creating entire products by myself in my spare time. So I have to remind myself of that it's like, yeah, it takes us at Paizo 4 to 6 months of various people working on a 32-page or a 64-page adventure to get it out to the printer, and that doesn't even account for writing. And I am still under 6 months, and I'm doing it all by myself. So, you know, I try to give myself some slack, but I hope that you all understand that this can be a time-consuming process, especially when you have to do a lot of it all yourself. I'd love to get to the point where I'm paying for a graphic designer and I'm paying for, you know, developer, and I just have folks who work with me on this stuff. But I think to get there, I have to make sure that the products are selling a good number, right? I've been playing the numbers game right now, and at $15 a head, if I, you know, at drive-through, that means every copy I sell, I get about $10. So to make up for the $4,000 that have been invested in this, you know, its break even is 400 copies, and that doesn't even account for my time and effort. So, you know, honestly, for this to be a success and to add more people to it, I have to be selling like 1,000 copies. That is a tall order. So, you know, I'm not necessarily thinking I'm even going to hit it, and frankly, I won't be disappointed if I don't. Because I think there's a further down goal of doing a crowdfunding, and using that to make nice, final, polished versions of these things that everybody will be proud to have on their bookshelves. So, yeah, that's where we're at. And thank you. There's been some comments here about, the job I've been doing, and I appreciate the kind words. It is a lot of work, and keeping things moving and kind of a constantly moving forward. That's kind of my current goal. I try not to let the project overwhelm me because it's very big, right? There's a whole lot of moving parts to doing a player's guide, a GM's guide, and a very large, complex, robust adventure. Making all of those things happen and all those things come together is no easy task. And that's when you can pay freelancers or have employees that do most of the specialized tasks. When you're doing it all yourself, it's a lot slower. And a lot more challenging. You just got to learn a lot of stuff. So it goes faster, though. The layout's getting faster and faster and faster, which is nice. We may get to a point where I just don't really need a layout person because I know how to do it, and it's just a cost I don't need to incur. Because if I do hire folks, I want to make sure I do it right. That is one thing that I'm stressing with all the people I'm working on. I want to make sure that I am a very ethical and above board when it comes to my business dealings with folks for this project. Not that I'm not at Paizo, but, this is my company, my kind of name's on it, and I want to make sure that frankly, everything I do is above board. Leo was great and was like, hey, listen, I'll do this, and I'll even toss in this. And I was like, do not do extra work. I want to pay you for the work that you're doing. And I even upped his pay rate from up. I gave him like a whole extra cent per word, which on 22,000 words is not nothing, a couple $100, just because he wanted to add some development notes. And I was like, sure, yeah, you can do that, but I got to pay you for it. I'm not taking charity for this. I am a business, and I want to work as a business, and that means dealing with folks ethically and honestly. And no matter where you are in the world, you get the same pay rate. I don't take your local cost of living into account, right? The artist who works in Great Britain got paid the same rates as the artist who works in the Philippines. That's just how it goes. Because I want everything to be above board, and I want everyone who has anything to do with this project to be happy with their work and feel like it came out successfully and rewardingly. So, yeah, that is true. Paizo does have a legal team, and I don't. That is a big part of it. But I also have good contracts, and I have a good legal contract that I use for all of my business dealings. So it's all coming together quite well. Yeah, I mean, that is true. Wolfren's Fate is a lot more than just an adventure. It is a world-building adventure and designed to be kind of a larger intro piece to the world. So, well, folks, I'm just about out of time here today. If anybody has any last-minute questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Otherwise, we're going to move on here. I got another stream coming up here in about 15 minutes where I'm going to be playing more Stray. I'm picking back up where I left off, 3 weeks ago? I guess it was 2 weeks ago, now that I think about it, actually. So I'll be playing more Fun Games as a Cat here in just a bit. But, yeah, I think that's about all we got here today, folks. I want to thank you all for stopping by and hanging out. Thank you for your support on the Eventide project. It really does mean the world to me. And without you, none of this would be happening. So thank you for your continued support. And, folks, we will see you next time.